All right, well, here comes the moment of truth. We're going to see if we can get this big old 4L80 right here to fit inside this thing. We're going to have some clearance issues on the inside of the doghouse, so we'll see how this goes. It's going to be, of course, I got to get this thing jacked up to even get it under there, but we're going to have some, oh my God. We'll go this way, I guess. But we're going to have some clearance issues for sure. Well, we got some progress with the transmission. It's in, kind of. Let's check it out. So, it actually fit pretty damn well. We got plenty of clearance here for the doghouse. It's going to definitely clear just fine. I didn't bolt it all the way because we're just trying to mock it up. But we ran into a couple little issues underneath that we're going to have to figure out. So, let me get under here and show you. We have some clearance issues here. So, the original mount came down like a kind of a big V and was right about here. So, we got to move this thing back about 6 inches and figure out what we're going to do here. Probably going to end up cutting a big notch out of here so we can get the transmission up where we need it. And probably come up with some sort of cross member somewhere right here. The problem is we got this big plate that I don't really want to go into, so we'll figure that out here in a few. We're gonna get this thing notched out. All right, so we got this piece cut out here. It was pretty smooth. I cut it a little bigger than I absolutely needed to, but I'd rather give me a little more space. I don't have to do this twice. Came out in one shot, so I'm going to kind of use this as a mock-up to make a plate to go in here. So we're going to take this piece in the shop, and we'll try to just get a piece of flat bar or a flat plate, whatever I have laying around, and make something to fit in here. All right, well, this little piece that I cut out of the cross member is much more difficult to make than I had anticipated. I know there's a little curvature here. I wasn't too worried about that, but I made some pretty even measurements, so I thought. But come to find out, this frame is mighty strange. It is all kinds of different widths. So at the top here, we got maybe 3 1/8. But when you come down to the bottom here, you're almost at 3 inches. So there's a bit of a taper just on one side. Same over here, 3 1/8. And then there you go, maybe 3 1/16 possibly. But it's kind of a weird angle. This actually was more time consuming. I thought I was just going to make a quick little box. Did not turn out that way. I don't know if you can even see it, the taper in here, but look at the difference on the frame, what it ended up being. So at the top here, a little over 3 1/8, and at the bottom, we ended up at exactly 3 inches. So if you can tell on camera, it's kind of hard to see sometimes. This is straight, and just on the inside of the frame, it tapers in about 1/8 of an inch, which makes this whole bracket, especially when you don't cut this perfect, I took all my measurements, but the frame is not actually, or I should, cross member, I should say, it's part of the frame, is not quite symmetrical as you would think it would be. But we got it somewhat mocked up, so I'm going to take it over there, put it underneath the frame, and see if I can finagle this to fit in there a little bit. Don't mind this, I had to go over there and make some trims because that piece of shit is not correct. So this is what we ended up with. I'm gonna go see if it fits. We'll get this thing welded in there and pray for some good measurements. So this is what we got here. It ain't perfect, but it is definitely weldable. Hopefully you can see it, but it's in there. Little slight gap. I made it a little shorter so we can have a little bit of penetration on this weld, even though it is actually going to be structural, so we want to make sure we weld it properly. Little gap here, not too worried about that. I can fill that in. And on the back side here, if you can see it, this is the side that has a very strange taper in here. I'm not really understanding why they did that. Maybe something manufacturing, but either way, it's tight enough that we can get a weld in there. I'll put a couple tacks, clean up all this metal. We will get this welded in tonight, and then we are gonna see if the transmission fits before I fully weld this. Well, that'd be the smart thing to do, but I probably won't do that. We'll just assume I did a good job. Well, it's in there, it's tacked in. It's got to finish welding it up. Came out pretty good. Got some really good fitment all the way around here. Little gap right there, not a big deal. This is the only piece I'm not real happy about. I'm gonna have to put some filler in there, but that's not too big of an issue. I can deal with that. But on this side, extremely good fitment. You know, nice and tight. So it'll be a real nice, easy piece to weld in. Other than here, I got to get a filler piece, but like I said, we'll get it burned in, and this thing will give us plenty of clearance. So I'm real happy with it. Definitely was a pain in the ass, but also very necessary. So we'll finish getting this welded in tonight, and we're just gonna assume I did a good job and transmission clears, because I'm not doing this again. Alright, we got it all welded together, cleaned up, smoothed out for the most part. We'll come back tomorrow and try to clean that up a little bit more, make it look a little more presentable. Put some undercoating on here, and we'll be done. But it looks pretty good. It's hard to get these corners to have a nice sharp edge just because of the angle I had to weld them in. But, you know, for the most part, it looks pretty decent. We'll get it painted, and you'll never know it was ever changed, but it went in there pretty nice. So we'll see how tomorrow goes, if I can get this all polished up and sanded down a little nicer, and we're gonna get some paint on it. But this is what we got. Should clear that transmission no problem now. Cross members finished, got it painted, smoothed out, looks really nice in there. I'll get in here and show you in a second. But I got the engine and trans centered, got it lined up with the diff, got good angles for the driveline. Got the best angle I could for the engine. I try to match my driveline angles. I'll show you right now in a sec, but check it out. We got it pretty much right around 5 degrees is where we ended up for the pitch on the engine there. Got everything leveled. It had to get twisted and moved around quite a bit to get it lined up perfectly. I got a few set of headers I ordered here, which are probably not going to work because I have no clearance on this side. Even when I stuff them in there, we're hitting all along here. So these aren't going to work. Most likely going to have to go to a center dump, but we'll make that work. That's further down the line. We got to get this all finished up here. But we'll come around, show you where we're at. So engine is centered, I believe. Looks really weird in there. It's kind of hard to tell where the angle of the engine sits. It looks like it's cocked, but all my measurements show that it's straight. I got a little shim here right now because it's going to be really tight, and I had to get the engine level, so that's where we're going to be at. But we're going to have plenty of clearance for headers on that side. This side, a lot of room down here, but right up there in the doghouse, it's extremely tight. As you can see, this is only a 3/16 piece of metal, so I might even shave that bracket down. But got the engine at about 5 degrees, which is the best I'm going to get. Go under here. Show you this cross member I got all cleaned up and primered. So it came out really, really nice. I got a ton of room under there. Got it right where I wanted it. And we ended up, let's see, I believe it was right around 5 degrees. Let me get this thing centered here. So yeah, almost right dead nuts at 5 degrees on the yoke there. And then probably can't see it on the back side without no light, but this one is, you know, within half a degree or so, so that's perfect. So I'm happy. We're just gonna have to, I got a drive line here that we're gonna have cut down and custom made, because this one does not have the slip in the 4L80. This is a fixed yoke that I got for my heavy duty truck. So we're gonna start building the cross member here, or trans mount, and get all that somehow bolted up here. Take you in the shop here and we'll start making a custom mount. Nothing gonna be fancy. Might just throw some angle iron on the side here and bend some tubing up so we can get some clearance. But as you see, everything is pretty level. Very, very tight underneath the engine block, but it is gonna clear. There's daylight, so we'll be fine. Depends how hard Jesse's gonna drive this thing, because there will be some burnouts in the future. All right, so this is what we're making that cross member out of. It's some 120 wall DOM, 1.5 inch. So we're gonna get this thing polished up and get all this surface rust taken off. Pretty amazing what 10 minutes on a little polisher will do. Bring this whole piece back to life. I'm gonna get this chucked up in the bender and we'll start getting this thing formed, hopefully one shot. Alright, so we're gonna get this thing bent up today with this trusty old JD Squared Model 3. I've had this thing for many years and built a lot of crap with it, and it hasn't died yet. So we're gonna continue using this one. It'll bend this 1.5 inch DOM, no problem. So we'll see if we can get all 4 bends in one shot without having to do any adjustments, but we'll see. I'll start getting this thing bent up and pray we get it right the first time. All right, this is what we came up with. It's not the most aesthetically pleasing cross member I've ever made. Really don't like how wide this is. I probably should have tightened it up, but it's more fit and function than looks, and I nailed my drop right where I needed it, right at 7 inches, so it's perfect. So we're gonna get little tabs on the side so we can mount it inside of the frame rail, and we'll put a mounting tab here so we can get the cross member, and it'll give us plenty of room. So we'll get this under there and start mocking up the rest. Now that we got our cross member all bent up, we had to make some little mounting plates here that's going to go on the inside of the frame rail. Spent entirely way too much time on these, cleaning them up and beveling the edges. But we're going to go ahead and punch some holes in here so we can get some mounting. Alright, so now we got our mounting plates. Just went with 4 5/16 holes. I was going to go 2 3/8, but it's giving me a little more clamping force here. So I'm going to go ahead and get these cleaned up, get this cut down to fit, and we'll weld these on the ends and go test fit.
Alright, this is the final product. We got it all nice and painted up. Weird little cross member there. Kind of a big drop compared to most of them you would build, but once we get it in there, you'll understand why this was necessary. But yeah, everything came out, got it all nice and cleaned up. Nice and pretty. Spent way too much time on this than necessary, but I like my stuff to have a nice fit and finish. Put a nice little bevel on these. Got to go in and finish installing all the nutserts in the frame. But I would say it is a win. So we'll get this thing installed right now. Alright, engine and trans are in their final home. We had to do some adjustments on the mounts and whatnot, but it is mounted up in there and is at the height I want. We actually had to cut this mount and kind of reposition it to lift this front end a little bit up. I didn't like how tight this was, so I got it in place, redid that. We're going to pull those engine mounts out and we're going to finish plating them and getting them nice and finish welded. So I'm gonna take these to the powder coat because I don't like to paint motor mounts. They look like shit after about 2-3 months of being in the heat. Just powder coat them, get it done. Looks like crap. So let's see what we got here with the mount. It was a little bit of a pain in the ass, like always with this thing for some reason. It is in there. Kind of made a hiccup here. I didn't think about this parking brake cable that's going to be in the way, so that's an easy fix. But mount is mounted up, everything is in place where it needs to be. Went fairly smooth for the most part. Had a slight issue with some shrinkage on the tubing here when I welded it up, so I think on this side we have a slight little like 1/8 inch gap that I'm probably gonna have to put some shim or something in there. But other than that, it's in there. Got good clearance up top. Everything's sitting on its own weight. So now we get to figure out all the fun stuff. So this is the most time consuming part. Once this is done, we can start getting to the fun stuff, which is engine, wiring, exhaust, all those things that everyone loves to do. So we ordered a few different manifolds here. None of them were working. So what I did is I had a set of some Speed Engineering center dumps that are going into my Jeep that I'm swapping. And these actually, let me see if I can get them in here. These fit very nicely in there. We've got tons of clearance. Might have to wrap these. We'll see how hot it is on the floor. But yeah, I'll be able to make a nice center dump exit there on both sides. But yeah, these look really good. So I ordered up another set of these because these are going on my Jeep. That'll probably never get done because I always take on work for everybody else. But we also got to come up here and start figuring out tying in power steering lines, cooling system, figure out a radiator that's going to work because these both have a passenger inlet outlet on the radiators and I can't really find anything that fits in here. So the goal of this whole thing is to try and keep this thing as stock as possible. So if Jesse takes it somewhere, he can get parts anywhere he can drive cross country, stop at any parts store, and they're going to have parts in stock for any LS stuff like this. So that's where we're trying not to get too custom on everything as much as I can handle because I can't stand stock. But we'll figure that out when it comes. Also notice, looks like this thing may have been in an accident. Some booger welds here. Everything just kind of looked rough in this area that I was trying to figure out, but that's gonna maybe come into play when we start trying to mount the radiator in here. Then trying to make sure we have an intake that can clear and actually get fresh air. So battery box might get moved somewhere else. Gonna rewire this whole entire thing, put a new fuse box because we're definitely not gonna stick with this old glass fuses because those are not accessible at most parts places. This thing's all rusted. They got a fuse block there, so I'm gonna rewire the whole thing nicely so he has areas for him to tie in because he likes to add a lot of shit in here. He's living in this thing when he's driving, so I want to be able to tie in to power, good clean power, have good nice grounds everywhere so he can take this thing and not have to worry about it. Alrighty, these are the mounts I end up building for the van here. I have a ridiculous amount of time in polishing and cleaning these up because I have OCD, and this is what happens when you get started on a project. But they came out super nice. You're never going to see them because they're going to get powder coated and thrown into the engine and never to be seen again. But you know, I got to put in the work and do them right because this is Copeland's Customs, not Copeland's buy some mounts off the internet and install them. So that's what we do here. I'm not going to get paid for the ridiculous amount of time I have in fabbing these up, but I feel good about it, and I couldn't let them go looking like shit. So this is what we got. Hope Jesse appreciates the time invested.
All right, so we got the engine and trans completely installed. Mounts are done. Everything's painted, powder coated. Everything looks really good, sitting where I want it. So I'm going to move on to doing exhaust. We got to finish running the fuel lines, fuel pump, cooling system, wiring. We got a lot to go, but we're almost there. It's going pretty quick. So make sure to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. Let me know how I'm doing in the comments. Do you like the content? Do you like what I'm doing? Am I doing a good job? Should I just retire and hang up my wrenches? Let me know. See you guys in the next episode.